The morning sun slanted through the tall windows of Hopewell Community Center, a long-standing gathering space at the edge of town where people came for everything from food drives to music nights. In the lobby, a bulletin board displayed colorful flyers, piano lessons, senior chess club, and a threadbare poster reading, Listening Circle, Conversations about Change and Community. That listening circle was today, and Samira Rao was nervous. Samira had moved to Hopewell 2 years earlier, drawn by the town's rolling hills and slower pace. As a public health researcher, her work often revolved around data and patterns, numbers that told stories of human behavior. Recently she had watched a CNN segment by Harry Enton discussing how Americans' views on legalizing marijuana had changed over decades, how support had grown from about 1 in 8 in 1969 to around 2/3 today. Enton explained that when people see others they know using marijuana responsibly, attitudes shift, sometimes slowly, sometimes in fits and starts, with unforeseen backlash and surprising support emerging across generations and backgrounds. Samira pondered how those trends were not just statistics but real people rethinking long-held beliefs. She imagined how different life might feel if people carried that same openness and curiosity into all areas of their human relationships. That was why she had helped organize the Listening Circle, to give residents a place to share, not debate, their experiences and opinions about issues that mattered to them and to one another. When she stepped into the circle, she saw about a dozen faces, some familiar, some strangers. Mr. Delgado with his gentle eyes, who walked his dog here every morning, Nora Liu, the high school art teacher, a few young adults from the coffee shop down the street, and an older woman named Ms. Thompson, who wore a crisp hat and carried a kind of quiet reserve. Samira smiled and gestured for everyone to sit. "Thank you for coming," she began, her voice steady though her heart fluttered. "Today we're here to talk, not to persuade, but to understand. I'll share some things I learned about how people's views change over time, like what I saw in commentary about attitudes toward marijuana legalization. But more importantly, I want to hear your stories, moments when you changed your mind, or when someone's kindness helped you do that." There was a gentle quiet. Nora was the first to speak. "I used to think change was scary," she said. "The family has always been traditional. When I first heard about people using marijuana for medical reasons, I worried it was just another fad that would bring trouble. But then my cousin, Paul, was diagnosed with chronic pain. He told me how medical cannabis eased his suffering in ways other treatments couldn't. That made me stop and listen. I had to let go of assumptions and care more about him than about what I thought I knew." Samira nodded. Nora's story was an example of what Enton hinted at with polling data, that direct human experience often alters viewpoints more than abstract arguments. "It's about connection," Samira said. "When we see someone we care about in a new light, it can shift our hearts even before our minds." A few people murmured agreement. Mr. Delgado adjusted his cap. "When my granddaughter came out as queer, I had a lot of questions, a lot of fear. But she never yelled at me. She just shared her life with me, over dinners, over long walks. I learned more about her experiences than any headline could teach. I realized that empathy matters more than insistence." Ms. Thompson shifted slightly in her seat. Samira noticed her quiet presence. "I'm from an older generation," she said, voice soft but firm. "I grew up hearing that certain behaviors were immoral, dangerous. When marijuana talk came up in my time, we believed all that. But I've seen changes in people's lives, good changes, and I've had to wrestle with my preconceived ideas. Listening to neighbors, hearing their stories of healing and responsible use, challenged me to rethink what I thought was right." There was a pause as the group absorbed her words. Samira felt a warmth spread through the room, a sense that this gathering was more than a discussion, it was a community unfolding, piece by piece. A younger man, Ethan, who had been quiet until now, spoke up. "I used to get frustrated when people clung to old ideas without questioning them. But I didn't always explain my views kindly. One day my friend Sarah invited me to join her grandmother at church. At first I didn't want to go, but I went. I didn't preach or shove my views. I just listened. And in listening, I understood more about why some people hold on to tradition. That changed me." Samira felt nearly everyone in the circle lean in, sensing the tenderness in Ethan's reflection. "I think kindness is about refusing to reduce someone to a label," he continued. We often see people as just categories: old, young, liberal, conservative, and forget they are living, breathing humans with stories. When I started looking at people that way, my opinions became less rigid and more compassionate. Samira looked around the circle and saw eyes shining with a shared sense of belonging. A few minutes earlier, she had worried they might clash or retreat into defensiveness. Instead, everyone had allowed themselves to be seen, truly seen, by one another. She stepped forward gently. This is what change feels like. Not the loud debates, not winning arguments, but connecting across differences, meeting vulnerability with empathy. Just like societal attitudes about many issues have shifted over time, our personal attitudes shift when we choose kindness over conflict. A hush settled, not heavy but full, like the room itself was breathing. In that moment, Samira realized something powerful. When kindness leads conversations, understanding grows, often in places where data alone could never reach. Part 2. After a pause, the circle continued. The late afternoon sun warmed the room, and Samira asked a final question: when has someone's kindness changed the way you see the world? Nora raised her hand again. When my cousin Paul first shared his story, I didn't know how to respond. I was afraid of saying the wrong thing. But then he thanked me for listening without judgment. That simple gratitude changed me. I realized kindness isn't just in the big moments, it's in willingness to hear someone out without dismissing them. Mr. Delgado's eyes softened. My granddaughter's patience with my questions helped me see beyond my comfort zone. Her kindness wasn't about agreeing with everything I thought, it was about showing me trust. And that opened my heart to reconsider old assumptions with new understanding. Samira noticed a pattern. Each person's story involved someone choosing empathy over dismissal, curiosity over fear. It reminded her of what she'd learned from polling trends. When people personally encounter others whose lives differ from their own, their attitudes can evolve in ways surveys later reflect. She felt moved by the harmony in the room, a harmony shaped not by uniform views but by mutual respect. Then she noticed Ms. Thompson looking thoughtful. I came here expecting to defend tradition, Ms. Thompson said. But I've realized that tradition and kindness are not opposites. They can coexist. What I learned today is that my neighbors here are not threats to the values I hold dear, they are fellow travelers seeking understanding. That's a kindness I didn't expect to find. The group smiled, and someone remarked that their conversations reminded them of a quilt, each patch distinct, stitched together by shared experience. Ethan spoke next. I think our community is like that. We come from different backgrounds, generations, beliefs. But when we choose kindness, we create a patchwork that holds us together even when topics are difficult. Samira's heart filled with gratitude. She thought about the CNN segment again, how Enton pointed to polling numbers that showed both dramatic increases in support for marijuana legalization and compelling evidence of backlash in some groups. That complexity mirrored what she saw here. Change is neither linear nor guaranteed, but it is possible when people choose to listen and to care. She took a breath and shared something personal. Growing up, I often felt like I had to be right. I learned early that facts matter, polls, research, analysis. But I also learned that facts don't have hearts. People do. And when we lead with compassion, we make space for everyone's story, not just our own. The room was silent for a moment, then filled with tender nods. Samira realized that kindness isn't just an act. It's a practice, a daily commitment to see others fully, respect their journey, and allow space for transformation. Then Nora said something that made Samira's eyes well. I work with teenagers every day, and I see how heavy the world feels for them. They face judgment from adults who don't know their lives. If we, as a community, can show young people that kindness transforms hearts and builds bridges, maybe they'll carry that kindness forward. Maybe they'll find ways to listen even when they disagree. Samira thought of how attitudes about many social issues had changed over generations. Some patterns in the national dialogue had echoes in Hopewell: resistance, acceptance, pause, reconsideration. But the pace of change wasn't the point. The point was empathy, and people choosing connection over alienation. In that moment, the listening circle became more than an event. It became a microcosm of what kindness can do: heal rifts, open minds, and nourish community. Before people began to drift away as the sun dipped lower, Ms. Thompson stood and faced the circle. I came here unsure of what to expect, she said. But I leave with something precious, the knowledge that kindness can be the ground on which change grows. Not loud arguments, not forceful persuasion, but gentle, patient understanding. A murmur of agreement filled the room. Samira felt a wave of warmth, as if each story and reflection had woven an invisible thread connecting them. When the circle ended, many lingered a little longer, exchanging smiles, offers of coffee, invitations to future gatherings. Samira walked home with a light heart, reflecting on the power of kindness in shaping attitudes, not just in headlines or polling data, but in quiet moments of genuine connection between human beings. That night, she journaled about the day's experiences, thinking how the world's big shifts, like increasing acceptance of new ideas over decades, often begin in places like Hopewell, one conversation, one act of listening, one moment of kindness at a time. And as she wrote, Samira realized the greatest change comes not from forcing agreement but from honoring each person's dignity, meeting them where they are, and gently inviting them into a shared journey of understanding and humanity.